Welcome to 21st Sports Recap and Reaction for the Dallas Cowboys to the Washington Redskins in their Week 13 matchup played December 7th, 2015. We're going to go over every possession, the scores, the stats, and give our breakdown and analysis for this NFC East Division rivalry game. And the Redskins had a chance to take sole possession of first place if they could win this game, and the Cowboys were fighting for their season. If they could win, they'd be within one game of first place, but if they lost, they'd be 2 games back with 4 games left. So the Redskins got the ball first in this game. They went 3 and out on their first possession. The Cowboys would then take over on their own 34, and Darren McFadden would fumble the ball. Goldston recovered, but the Redskins were not able to turn the turnover into points as they would go 3 and out. The Cowboys would go 3 and out as well, and then the Redskins went 3 and out as these two teams could not get anything going on offense, as the defense was getting in the backfield, putting pressure on the quarterbacks and stuff in the run. So now the Cowboys would punt after 4 plays, and the Redskins punted after 6 plays. The Cowboys then went 3 and out on their next possession. The Redskins would punt after 6 plays, and now the Cowboys would take over with less than 12 minutes left in the second quarter on their own 20, and they would drive down the field. They got up to midfield, and on 1st and 10 from the Dallas 41, Castle went to Williams. He picked up 38 yards and a first down at the Washington 21. They would get into the red zone, but then a penalty pushed them back, and on 4th down, Dan Bailey would come out to attempt a 38-yard field goal. It was up, it was good, and that put the first points on the scoreboard as the Cowboys now led 3-0 with 6.5 minutes left before halftime. So now the Redskins would come right back, and they would respond with a scoring drive of their own as they start off on their own 16, and they would move the ball towards midfield. They got into Dallas territory, but their drive would stall on the Dallas 26, and out came Dustin Hopkins, to attempt a 45-yard field goal. It was up, it was good, and this game was tied at 3, and that would do it for the first half. So 3-3 after the first half, and on the first possession of the second half, we had another fumble for the Cowboys. McFadden fumbled the ball for the second time in this game. This one forced by Hatcher and recovered by Foster. So now Washington would actually turn this turnover into points. They start off in Dallas territory at the 41. They got down into the red zone, but their drive would stall on the 18, and Hopkins came out to kick a 36-yard field goal. That gave the Redskins the lead 6-3 with 10.5 still left in the third. The Cowboys then put together a long 7-minute drive after the kickoff, starting off on their own 20, but their drive would end up stalling down in the red zone on the Washington 16-yard line, and Dan Bailey would kick a 34-yard field goal to tie this game up at 6 apiece with about 3.5 still left in the third. Washington would bring the third quarter to a close, and they actually opened up the fourth in Dallas territory, where they would end up with a 46-yard field goal less than a minute into the fourth quarter as they took back the lead, up now 9-6. So now the Cowboys on their next possession would end up with another fumble. This time Castle went to Street. Foster forced the fumble. It was recovered by Blackman. And so now the Redskins would take over after the fumble on their own 37. They got into field goal range, but Hopkins missed a 43-yard field goal, and so it remained 9-6 as they failed to extend their lead. So now the Cowboys would take over after the missed field goal on their own 33. Then Whitehead, on an end around, ran 22 yards to bring the ball to the Washington 45. And then Matt Castle went to Des Bryant. He picked up 42 and a first down in the red zone at the Washington 3 for a first and goal. But they were not able to get into the end zone as the Redskins came up with a goal line stand. And so Dan Bailey hit a 20-yard field goal to tie this game at 9 apiece, with about 4.5 minutes still left to play. So tied up at 9 with 4.5 left to play. The Redskins would go 3 and out on their next possession, and the Cowboys would punt after 5 plays on the possession that followed. So now on the punt, we ended up with a crazy play. This was after the 2-minute warning when they ended up punting this ball, and DeSean Jackson tried to make something happen, and he ended up running backwards, and then he ended up fumbling the ball. So a fumble by DeSean Jackson as he was trying to make some magic happen, but he ended up just totally fumbling this play. And it was pretty close, but he did fumble the ball. And so now the Cowboys would take over in the red zone on the Washington 15 after the fumble with about a minute and a half left to play. And this game tied at 9. And after McFadden picked up 9 yards on first down on 2nd and 1 from the 6, McFadden scores on a 6-yard touchdown run. Dan Bailey added the extra point, and it was 16-9 Cowboys over the Redskins with just over a minute left to play. So it looked like the Cowboys had this one, but the Redskins weren't done just yet. So they ended up with a 41-yard return on the kickoff, and then a penalty for a face mask would put them in Dallas territory at the 43. Kirk Cousins went to Pierre Garçon. He picked up 9 yards, and that brought to the 34 for a 2nd and 1. An incomplete pass brought up 3rd down, and Thompson picked up 6 on the ground. And now it was a 1st down at the Dallas 28, and DeSean Jackson caught a touchdown from Kirk Cousins, a 28-yard pass. Hopkins added the extra point, and it was a perfect pass by Cousins there in the right corner of the end zone, and that would tie this game up at 16 apiece with 44 seconds on the clock. So it looked like we might be going to overtime. But then on the kickoff, you ended up with Whitehead return at 46 yards all the way to the Dallas 46. So now the Cowboys would come out with just over a half a minute left to play. Matt Castle hit Des Bryant for a 12-yard reception to bring the ball into Washington territory at the 44. Castle went back to Bryant. He picked up 8 yards, and now it was 2nd and 2 at the 36. An incomplete pass brought 3rd down. Now another incomplete pass, and it was 4th down at the 36. And out came Dan Bailey to attempt a 54-yard field goal, and it was good. Bailey hits the 54-yarder, and now the Cowboys were up 19-16 with just 9 seconds left to play. So now on the kickoff, the Cowboys would kind of almost like a squib kick, kind of a low pooch kick, and DeSean got the ball. They set up, they were going for a lateral play. They ran out the clock, which if they would have just got out of bounds, maybe they could attempt a Hail Mary. Instead, they're going for the lateral. Time expired, and they got flagged for a forward pass, and this game came to a close. And so the Cowboys, at 4-8, they're still alive in the East. They still have a chance somehow, some way to make the playoffs, as they actually get their first win with a quarterback under center other than Tony Romo since 2010. And that was, I believe, Steve McGee. And so now Matt Castle gets the win, the first win for the Cowboys with Castle. And what a crazy game. The Cowboys to get this one is, they won their first 2 games. Romo came back. They won that game against Miami. Then Romo is lost again. And now finally they get a win with Matt Castle. And now they're just 1 game back of the Redskins, Eagles, and Giants, who are all tied in a 3-way tie for first place at 5-7. So what a wild year it's been in the NFC East. And amazingly, the Cowboys just 1 game out of first in the East with 4 games left to play. So it was a crazy game on Monday Night Football. It started off, it was, pretty boring unless you're just a fan of defense. There was, good pass rushes going on in this game, but not a lot of offense. And then the final minute and a half, we see 2 touchdowns and a field goal. Of course, that fumble by DeSean Jackson setting up the touchdown by McFadden. And then DeSean Jackson erases it as he catches a touchdown from Kirk Cousins. But Dan Bailey with the game-winning field goal. And then the Redskins questionable, with what they chose to do, going for that lateral play on the kickoff instead of maybe trying to sub for a Hail Mary. Of course, with the Hail Mary, if it's going to be 80, 90 yards, that would probably, develop into a lateral play as well. So I guess one lateral play is as good as another. But as I said, the Cowboys 4-8 with the win. They're 3-3 on the road. The Redskins 5-2 at home, 5-7 on the season. And in this game, Matt Castle 16 for 29, 222 passing yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Darren McFadden had 14 carries for 53 yards and a touchdown. McFadden also had one catch for 6 yards, giving him 59 total yards on the game. And Terrence Williams, 2 catches for 63 yards. Des Bryant, 3 catches for 62 yards. And Jason Witten, 5 catches for 45 yards, as he had his 1,000th reception in this game, as he reached that milestone in his Hall of Fame career, his future Hall of Fame career. And so for the Redskins, Kirk Cousins, 22 for 31, 219 passing yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Matt Jones, 18 carries for 49 yards in this game. He also had 1 catch for 5 yards, giving him 54 total yards in the game. DeSean Jackson, 6 receptions for 80 yards and a touchdown. Pierre Garçon, 5 receptions for 54 yards. When we look at the kickers in this game, Dan Bailey was perfect, 4 for 4 on the field goals, 1 for 1 on the extra points. And Dustin Hopkins, 3 for 4 on the field goals, 1 for 1 on the extra point. Of course, that missed field goal ended up being the difference. Then we look at the defense in this game, and Lawrence had 2 sacks and a forced fumble. Sean Lee had a sack as well. So he had 13 tackles in this game for Sean Lee. So he was all over the field, making a big comeback. And for the Redskins, Baker had a forced fumble, as did Foster, Goldston, and Hatcher. And Murphy had a sack. Look at the team stats: 16 first downs for the Cowboys, 15 for the Redskins. On third down, the Redskins were 6 for 16, 37%. The Cowboys just 1 for 9 on third down, just 11% conversion rate. Total net yards in the game, 317 for Dallas, 266 for Washington. And on the ground, the Cowboys netted 97 yards, the Redskins 73. And through the air, the Dallas netted 220, Washington 193. Castle was sacked once for a loss of 2 yards. And Kirk Cousins was sacked 3 times, losing a total of 26 yards. Penalties in this game, is there was a decent amount: 9 against Washington for 73 yards, 8 against Dallas for 70 yards. And both teams were fumbling the ball. 4 fumbles for the Cowboys. They lost 3, recovered 1. And 2 fumbles for the Redskins. They lost 1, recovered 1. And in the red zone, 1 for 4 for Dallas, just 25%. 0 for 1 for Washington, 0% in the red zone. Time of possession, 32 minutes, 47 seconds for the Redskins. 27 minutes, 13 seconds for the Cowboys. And the Redskins had a chance in this game, to go up in the East and really make a statement, but no team wants to win this division, except for apparently the Cowboys, who, if they had had a healthy Romo all season, you got to believe they'd be running away with this division. But as it is, they're still in the thick of things. How crazy would it be if Dallas is able to pull this off? And if you actually look at the remaining schedules of the 4 teams in the East, you can make the argument that Dallas actually has a road to do this, because it's going to be tough for the Giants to win their games. They got some tough games coming up. The Panthers, to name one. Also, with the Eagles, got to face the Cardinals. They got some other tough games too. And the Redskins, of course, they're all facing each other coming out of the last 2 weeks. So, it's really going to come down to those in-division matchups in Week 16 and Week 17. So we'll see how that goes. But the Cowboys definitely have it laid out in front of them, a possible road toward the playoffs, despite right now being 4-8 and being without Romo for all but 4 games so far this season. So it'll be interesting to see how it develops. And the Redskins, if they were going to win it, they needed to win this game. They will be playing Dallas again. I believe that's Week 17 going to Dallas. And that's the thing with these 2 teams, is they tend to win in each other's homes for some reason. That seems to be the trend lately anyway. But in this game, You saw a decent pass rush by both teams. They were playing pretty good defense. They couldn't get anything really going in the running game. Not a lot of passing. As the Redskins looked really bad on offense, this was a chance for them to do something. As they've been playing pretty good at home, but Dallas, got to give them credit for them going in there on the road and shutting down a Redskins offense that had been pretty potent at home, but right here they just got shut down in this game. But let me know what you think in the comments section below. Definitely interested to read your thoughts and opinions. Thank you very much for listening. It's greatly appreciated. I hope you're having a good day and had a great weekend and enjoyed all the sports.